Kelly, middle school language arts teacher and author of the Lucia Chronicles. Today's video is going to be brief, which I think I say that every video, but I think I actually mean it this time. We're going into, or rather we're ending, our 4th week of school, and kind of was out of my classroom today, and tomorrow I'll be out of my classroom for some leveled literacy intervention training from Pontus and Fennell, I believe. So it's kind of hard being out of the classroom. I also have a student teacher this semester, so I kind of left things up to her because she's quite competent, so I really lucked out. But it's rough being out of a classroom when you work with students who don't handle change well. But I wanted to talk about a new tool that I was using in my classroom this year, and I got it from one of the science teachers, and it is the interactive notebook. And this is just my copy that I have, like a master for when students are absent, or if a lot of students need to see an example, and I'm still kind of learning how to use it exactly. But one of the things I liked about an interactive notebook is that it's kinesthetic and it's very visual, which I'll show you how and why in a moment if you have never heard of an interactive notebook. So it's kinesthetic and visual, which is 3 of the main ways that we learn. We learn auditory, visually, or kinesthetically. You get the auditory part from the direct instruction that you're giving as the students are putting together the interactive notebook. It also is a way for them to organize information. You're not giving, we don't do a lot of notes in language arts, but we used to do notes at the beginning of the year on certain words, and it's just worksheets that are being put in their folder, and they lose it, or they tear it, or something happens, or someone stains it, and or they misplace their folder. Whereas these I've been keeping in my classroom in a certain cabinet that I have, because I had a lot of cabinet space available to me. And so students can go in there and get their interactive notebook out. They can refer to their interactive notebook when we're doing certain lessons in class. So it's a way to be organized in the classroom. It's a way to reduce clutter in the classroom. It can help reach both visual and kinesthetic learners in your classroom, and they're just kind of fun to use. I haven't really gotten my students started on incorporating color coding or even color just to help with memory in their interactive notebook yet, but that's another element to an interactive notebook. It's been really hard trying to juggle certain things that I have to do in my classroom. I have to use a curriculum called Ready. We're supposed to be implementing Daily 3 in 6th grade so that students transition from 5th grade in elementary to 6th grade in middle school. They're getting a version of the Daily 5. So we're trying to do that. We use a program called the Chief 3000 for informational text that's differentiated at their lexile level. So incorporating that, and you have an hour of instruction. Not to mention direct instruction and Common Core. So I have my kids for an hour total. So I kind of wish I had 90-minute blocks like I used to in the past. But back to interactive notebooks. So the reason that they're kinesthetic is one, first you have a table of contents. That's not why it's kinesthetic, but it's a way of organizing. It's nice to have a composition notebook and not the spiral bound, because pages don't fall out as easily. So one of our first lessons was on genre, and as you can see, this actually didn't come from a template. My student teacher, she's very creative. She actually created this template so that it opened in such a way for genre. We have so far realistic fiction. So how awesome would this be to color code? Maybe a student would remember what realistic fiction is if it was colored green, and they thought, oh, what was underneath the green tab, and then they have their notes underneath. We did elements of literature, and this is normally how I would take notes, through a presentation with my kids, but basically this was the notes, and then so they wouldn't lose it, we just hamburger folded it and glued it into our interactive notebook. We have elements of plot. I just had a student in here who was absent for like a week, and so she was getting caught up on our interactive notebook stuff. And then so we have elements of plot. And then we have our plot diagram, which with 6th graders, ironically, or maybe not ironically, a lot of my students aren't familiar with common fairy tales that you would think, but they were all familiar with Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So we did a plot diagram on that, just to get them familiar with plot diagram lingo like rising action, falling action, climax, etc. So I really would like to integrate the color coding because I think it would also continue to help visual learners and make students maybe a little bit more invested in using their interactive notebook. I tend not to send things home because they don't ever come back. But this is a tool that I've been trying out this year, and so far I think it's pretty great, and there are so many resources you can find on this, from Pinterest to Teachers Pay Teachers. I downloaded 2 books off of Teacher Pay Teachers. A colleague had another one. They have them for all different content areas. It's just a great way to reach, you know, multiple learning styles and to help teach students how to be organized and, you know, to also teach synthesizing information through the use of color coding, which I need to work on that. So maybe on our next topic is going to be characterization, so maybe we can work on the color coding when we get to that. So that's my thoughts on interactive notebooks. Do you use them in your classroom? If so, let me know, and if you like them, let me know, or if you use them in a different way, I'd like to know that too. In the meanwhile, happy reading and happy writing.